Welcome to today's Explainer. If you've ever felt completely bogged down by the mechanics of language, that rigid, dusty list of grammar rules you had to memorize in school, well, get ready to completely change your perspective. Today, we're taking those rules and turning them into a dynamic, exciting toolkit for building compelling stories and speeches. Today, we become linguistic architects.
Let's dive right in. Did you know that the sentence was first divided into a subject and a verb by the famed philosopher Plato? Yeah, that was a staggering 2,400 years ago. Ever since then, students all over the world have found it totally worthwhile to study the structure of words and sentences. And why is that? Because mastering grammar has really always been the hallmark of educated people. It is literally the foundational code of human communication.
Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the 8 building blocks, master time and action, construct perfect sentences, and then finish up with the real magic of writing.
All right, Section 1, the 8 building blocks, the absolute foundation of language.
So let's start from the bottom up with the raw materials that construct literally every single sentence you will ever speak or write. We have our 8 parts of speech, and these aren't just words, they are your structural load bearers. Think about it. Nouns and pronouns, like a common noun city, a proper noun like London, or a personal pronoun like she, they form your foundation. Then you have adjectives and adverbs adding color and detail to those structures. Prepositions show us location. Conjunctions, they act as the glue to hold our thoughts together. Oh, and interjections, they just add that sudden, awesome burst of emotion.
Now, to really internalize these roles, take a look at this classic children's rhyme from our source text. It's actually brilliant. Every name is called a noun, as field and fountain, street and town. It just goes to show how we can memorize these distinct roles with just a bit of rhythm. It goes on to show how adjectives describe a thing, like a magic wand or bridal ring, and how prepositions show relation, like in the street or at the station. It proves that learning these 8 parts of speech doesn't have to be a chore at all. It can actually be pretty catchy.
But out of all those parts of speech, verbs, well, they hold a totally special kind of power. Most verbs mean action, something done. Whether you're jumping, running, or studying, verbs are the energetic engines of our language. They literally propel our subjects forward. Actually, verbs are so powerful, they're the only part of speech that can form a complete sentence entirely on their own. Think about the command run. Boom, that's a sentence. Without verbs, our sentences are just static snapshots. But with them, we've got movement, life, and action.
Moving right along to Section 2, Mastering Time and Action, or, as I like to call it, the physics of grammar.
Now that we have our raw materials, let's look at how verbs actually allow us to travel through time. When we visualize verb tenses across the past, present, and future, we see how they shift shape to anchor our actions on a logical timeline. Look at how beautifully this is laid out. Just by changing I studied to I study or I will study, you instantly transport your listener through time. You are completely in control of the timeline. So, what's really crucial here is understanding the nuance. Check this out. Notice how a simple present tense like I study English basically just states a general fact. But then, look at the present perfect continuous, I have been studying English. That completely changes the vibe, doesn't it? It emphasizes an action that started in the past, continued over time, and is still ongoing right now. The depth of meaning you can convey just by tweaking the verb tense is honestly incredible.
Let's dig a bit deeper into this nuanced timeline. As you can see, continuous tenses represent ongoing moments. Something like, I am doing cooking at the moment. It is happening right now. Meanwhile, perfect tenses describe actions completed before a certain point in time, like I had done cleaning before you came. You aren't just telling a story, you are precisely choreographing exactly when every single event happens. It's almost like being a time traveler.
But, and this is a huge but, your time machine will completely break down without subject-verb agreement. It's an absolute fundamental rule of grammar physics. You have to make sure your singular subjects match singular verbs, like the team is coached, and your plural subjects, they need to align perfectly with plural verbs, like the police have caught the thief. Because if the gears of your subject and verb don't mesh perfectly, the whole sentence just grinds to a halt.
Which brings us to Section 3, Constructing Perfect Sentences. This is where we bring order to the chaos with our structural framework.
Okay, with our words chosen and our timeline set, we're ready to lay down the blueprints and build a complete sentence.
Every great sentence has a super clear relationship between its parts. Think of it kind of like a game of catch. The subject is the pitcher, throwing the verb. They're the one doing the action. The object is the catcher, the one receiving the action. So, if Amanda clears everybody's plates, Amanda is our subject pitching the action, and the plates are the object catching it. Once you can spot the pitcher and the catcher, you can understand any sentence.
Now, to keep these beautifully constructed sentences from just crashing into each other, we use punctuation. These are basically our linguistic traffic signals. We step logically from periods that command a full stop to commas that ask us to yield and pause for a second. We use exclamation points to shout our excitement, question marks to spark curiosity, and apostrophes to show ownership, like Peter's bike. These tiny little marks completely dictate the rhythm and tone of your writing.
And finally, Section 4, the magic of writing, crafting your masterpiece. Everything we've covered so far is just preparation for this exact moment.
We've officially reached the summit of our explainer. This is where we utilize all these mechanical rules to perform the actual magic of writing, whether that's a persuasive speech or a structured, compelling essay. This beautiful quote from the source speech about reading reminds us exactly why all of this matters. Reading books is like having a magic key that unlocks different worlds. We don't learn grammar just to pass a test, right? We learn it to unlock doors. If you want to write an inspiring speech that moves a crowd, a persuasive essay that changes minds, or a story about dragons soaring through the sky, grammar is that magic key that makes those worlds visible to everyone else.
And this is really what you should take away from this explainer today. When you read and write, you become the director of your own movie. By mastering your nouns, bending time with your verb tenses, and directing traffic with punctuation, your mind actually gets stronger. You imagine the characters, the places, the arguments, the action. Whether you're drafting a keynote address or writing the next great novel, you are the undisputed director of your own narrative. You're in total control.
So, fellow adventurers, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with an exciting challenge. You now possess the ultimate linguistic toolkit. You've got the blueprints, you got the materials, and you hold the magic key. So, what adventure will you write today? Grab a book, grab a pen, and go start building your own world.